Let's bring in our director of scouting, Craig Button. Got to talk about this game first. The Leafs, for the second time in a week, lose to the Bruins 4-1. So outscored 8-2 by a very likely first-round opponent. They lose. They get swept in the season series as well. What happened here against the Bruins?
Well, penalty killing wasn't very good. I mean, I think in the second game this week versus Boston, they tried to show that they can stand up to them physically, and I think that's always going to be something that you want to show, knowing that your first-round opponent is right across the ice from you. But again, you start to look at the areas of the Toronto Maple Leafs team where it's not strong enough, and it's the blue line. And I keep going back to the blue line, and people say, you just keep beating a dead horse. And the horse they don't have enough horses on the blue line. They have Morgan Riley, who's clearly a top pair defenseman. And then after him, if you think he's a 1, then you're missing a 2 and a 3. If you think he's a 2, you're missing a 1 and a 3. So you start to look at where opponents can really take advantage of you. And that's what the Boston Bruins are able to do. They're able to take advantage of areas of the Toronto Maple Leafs defense group that they can't defend against them. And yes, they have the offense, and the goaltending has been fine for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but that blue line, when you're playing against really good teams and it gets exposed, it gets exposed in a big way. If it's a hole against good teams, it's a bigger hole.
Joel Edmondson brought in by the Maple Leafs on Thursday. I mean, he's a guy you got to think is going to be on the penalty kill at some point for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They bring in Ilya Lyubushkin last week. So with these two moves, do you think the Leafs blue line is now set and ready to compete in the playoffs?
Well, they're going to compete because Joel Edmondson and Ilya Lyubushkin are competitors. So I have no worries about them coming in and providing some weight to their blue line and penalty killing help and, being able to match up in some heavy moments. But the same problem that the Toronto Maple Leafs have, which is the lack of defenders in that top three, one in their top three, it hasn't changed. And really what you want to do is you want to be able to add players like Edmondson and Lyubushkin to a group that's already got those players in place, so it strengthens them. So they come in and they play in their role, but the group in front of them isn't strong enough. And so now, yes, you try to improve the team on the margins, try to make some incremental improvements deeper into your defense group, but when you now have to play against the other team's good players and you have those holes, the additions of Edmondson and Lyubushkin aren't going to help you materially.
All right, so the clock is ticking, towards 3 p.m. Eastern on Friday. Is there anything more that the Leafs can do here to improve their roster?
I always think that, when you have time, use your time wisely. Try to figure out what is there. I mean, you don't just pick up the phone tomorrow and go, okay, here's what we're going to do. Brad Treliving, will have spent a lot of different time talking to managers, what's available, what type of players are out there. Defenders. And the player I keep going back to is David Savard. And, we hear from our insiders that, they've set their price. Well, the price is pretty significant for a good player like that. And when you look at what he did for the Tampa Bay Lightning, they gave up a first-round draft pick. He helped them win a Stanley Cup. That type of player, to me, is exactly what the Toronto Maple Leafs need. And can you make it happen? I guess it's up to what price you want to pay. But I will say this. The price might be high, but the price might be a lot higher for not solidifying and strengthening your team in that critical area.
Yeah, it's been years and years of playoff disappointment for the Leafs. We got a few weeks to find out yet before to see if that changes. All right, Craig, sit right there. We need to talk to you about the Jake Gensel trade to Carolina.